Lovely gardening friends, how are you today? I'm Mark. I'm a biotech geek and your gardening freak. Today, I would like to answer to a very good question, and it concerns how on earth am I able to allow my lovely orchids to bloom like this? This is exactly what we want to do with our orchids. We want them to bloom like mad. And there are ways to do that, and those tricks have a scientific basis. So I will produce three videos in a row that will each one explain one fundamental trick to allow your orchids to go bonkers and produce flowers by the load. So the first thing we have to know is that, well, orchids are genetically programmed to bloom. Okay, it is written down to their genes. So they all want to do that in order to not just ensure the survival of the individual, but also to ensure the survival of the species itself. Okay, and they do that through an association with insects for pollination. And also they do that with an association with mushrooms, a specific type of mushroom, a microscopic mushroom that allows them to be well fed. So we will look at how it's possible to use three tricks that will bring your orchids to bloom something absolutely wonderful, just like in the wild. Just like in their natural habitat. So there are two prerequisites. Okay, the first prerequisite is the health of the plant, because in order to bloom, the orchid has to be in perfect health. It has to have those beautiful, big, shiny, deep green, I say deep green leaves with all those lovely green roots. And once this prerequisite condition is accomplished, then the orchid will bloom. So that's the first prerequisite. The other prerequisite is age. Well, yes, the orchids are just like the good cheese, or the good wine, or the good Jamaican rum. Yes, I mean, this one is aged 8 years. It's aged in those big oak barrels there in Jamaica, and this is exactly the same with orchids. The older, the better. Well, I mean, this is quite normal for orchids to bloom more and more as they will advance in age. And it comes back to the first prerequisite. It has to be in good health. So, in these three videos, I will explain each one of the tricks that allow your orchid to bloom like cray-cray. So, the second trick is the nutrition of the orchid. Let's just imagine an orchid in the wild, okay? So these big trees that you have in the jungles of those lovely islands there in the Pacific Ocean, well, you can consider them as something that reminds a lot about a condominium tower, like a tall condominium tower. This is a little bit what those trees are, because they shelter not only an abundant plant life on their trunk and on their big branches like orchids, but you also have bromeliads, and you also have ferns that live on the bark of those huge trees. But also there are lots of small or larger animals that live on this canopy. You have lizards, you have snakes, you have insects, you have birds also, and you have small or big mammals, and all these creatures, all those living things, well, I mean, they have to accomplish their natural needs. So they urinate and they defecate on the tree itself. And when it rains during the rainy season, all those excreta will mix with the water of the rain and will slowly trickle down the trunk of the huge tree from the upper canopy down to the ground level. And this is exactly where those epiphyte plants are located to gorge themselves in all that nutrition. So this is very important. When it rains on the forest, well, this rain will bring lots of organic nutrients to the roots of those plants growing on the tree. And this is exactly what you mimic by using the very complete bloom formulation of the bioponics organic plant nutrient. This formulation contains everything a flowering plant needs in order to be well fed. So this is the second trick. You feed your orchids very well by a weekly or a bi-weekly addition of the bioponics organic liquid plant nutrient. Okay, don't feed them with those salt-based nutrients. Organic is the way to go with orchids because you biomimic what happens in their natural environment during a heavy rainy day. Okay, so this is how these plants are able to get their food by the action of the microscopic mushroom that will be able to solubilize phosphorus, that will be able to solubilize potassium, that will be able to solubilize iron, and all those elements, including calcium, that the orchids need to prepare those flower spikes that will turn into those beautiful flowers. So there you have it. The plants have to be well fed, and the bioponics liquid plant nutrient is the ideal food that you can give to your orchids. So much for the feeding of your plant, and the feeding has to be done regularly during the springtime and the summertime, because this is exactly when the orchids will gorge themselves in light, and they will gorge themselves in nutrients and produce those lovely roots and those beautiful leaves that will perform even more photosynthesis, and then bingo, you will see those little spikes appearing at the base of the leaves of your orchid. So that's the second trick. So there you have it. So thank you for sharing the bioponics videos, because we do the promotion of the living soil, and that's exactly what you encourage all around the roots of your orchids by providing them with a good balance of bioponics liquid plant nutrient and bioponics soil conditioner. And you don't need a lot of it, only 2.5 ml per quart of water. That's half a teaspoon per quart of water every week during the growing season. And your orchids will love you for that, because you mimic exactly what happens in their natural habitat. You cannot go wrong when you use this type of strategy on your favorite plants. Okay, time to go. This was a pretty good video, but it explains those 3 fundamental tricks for allowing your orchids to be the most beautiful orchids in your neighborhood. And your plants will love you for that. So, thank you for sharing my videos. Keep taking good care of all your lovely indoor plants this winter. Orchids, vines, spider plants, and perhaps your banana tree like Valerie here. And in the meantime, have a great day and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.